Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 46, overall 486 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac products. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you. Or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and they've been a proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the last 2.5 years as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also brought to you by Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Wellion, and please remember to drink responsibly. And Wellington Brewery is also in 2025 celebrating their 40th anniversary as Canada's oldest local craft brewery. So again, check out the great folks at Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road here in Guelph, Ontario. Again, they are the proud beer sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. I hope everyone's doing well on this cold, snowy night here in Southern Ontario on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. Hard to believe January is flying by, and I'm excited to have my guest on tonight. This is her first ever appearance on our show, and I met her at a Toronto Argonauts game this past season at BMO Field doing some media work, and her name is Marissa Turton. She is the coordinator of player and game statistics for the Canadian Football League, and we're going to bring Melissa on right now and talk a little bit about herself and how she got involved with the Canadian Football League. Good evening, Marissa. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I am doing well on this snowy Tuesday night, and we've had more snow here in Ontario than we did all last year. I only shoveled twice last year. This year I shoveled about 7 times.
I guess I brought the snow over with me from Winnipeg.
I was gonna say, do you ever get homesick for Winnipeg?
Well, I just got here in October, and I visited back home in December for the holidays. So I haven't had too much time away from home yet. Now is a little bit of a longer stretch. I'm not sure the next time I'll be home. So we'll see how this next few months go. But it's different here. Winnipeg was my home my whole entire life. So yeah, part of me misses it, but it's a nice change.
How much of an adjustment was it? And Winnipeg's what, Winnipeg's what, about the same size as Hamilton, like 500,000, and you're going to a city where there's what, 7 million people or close to it.
Yeah, I'd say that has been the biggest culture shock, is just the amount of people and everything's bigger. And I use the GO train to get to downtown Toronto. And
Smart.
Yeah, I don't anticipate driving downtown anytime soon. I'll avoid it as much as I can. I take the GO train. It's a great option, and it was a little bit tricky to figure out how to use it, but I think I'm figuring it out slowly, slowly but surely.
I just live in Guelph, which is about an hour from Toronto. So what I do is drive from Guelph to Burlington, which is a suburb of Toronto, and take the GO train in from Burlington to Exhibition Place, and BMO Field's right there. And it's just less stress, cheaper on gas, cheaper on the wear and tear on the car, and then you don't have to pay 30, 40, $50 for parking.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice. I really like having the option.
I like the GO train because when I'm doing media work, I always run into Argo fans or CFL fans, and then they want to talk to me as well. And also, too, if you're not talking to anyone on the GO train, there's always something going on in one of those trains.
Yeah, I've actually seen a couple of players and coaches. Saw Ryan Dinwiddie when I was waiting for the GO train once, and then I saw David Ungerer, David Ungerer the third, receiver for the Toronto Argonauts, and ended up taking the train home with him and his family, and they were really nice.
I would say a lot of the Argos take them, and also I'm gonna say this too, but from what I've seen, because I have a season ticket to the Argos besides doing media work, I would say a large majority of the Argo fans that come to BMO Field are not even from Toronto; they're from the suburbs, from Mississauga, Oakville, Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo.
Yeah, that's what's a little bit different here in the GTA because compared to Winnipeg, it's just Winnipeg, and there are some small towns around it, but you have to go, about 30 minutes at least to reach a small town. Or then there's Brandon, the next biggest city, which is about an hour and a half away. And I think I don't know how many people are in Brandon, but it's quite small, smaller than where I am right now. So
I've actually done more traveling to the States than I have my own country. I've had a number of guests from Western Canada, and I really would like to start going to Manitoba, Saskatchewan, BC, out west, and even I'd love to go to a CFL game in Winnipeg. And I did have the voice of the Blue Bombers on my show in November before the Grey Cup. Derek Taylor came on, and I interviewed one of the Blue Bombers' fathers, Stephen Ayres, the father of Michael Ayres, in July, and he was a really good guy to speak to as well. So even though I'm an Argo fan and doing media work, what I love about this league is we all have our favorite teams, but it's just kind of a family friendly league compared to the corporate NFL league.
100%. I love the NFL as well. I love
Yes,
football. I don't really pick one over the other. I just
I love them
sit
both.
back and enjoy the extra long football season because if you only like one or the other, then you have a
Yeah.
little bit of a shorter season.
Well, see, I tell my American friends, I said, okay, Super Bowl's over February 9th, but I said within 2.5 months, the CFL training camp start on May. And I said, and that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about this whole perception. I grew up in the 70s, loving the CFL and the NFL. I don't know why a lot of the new generation it has to be NFL or nothing. It's like you can like both leagues. They're both great. And there's things about the CFL I like better than the NFL.
Yeah, one of the things that I love the most about the CFL is just the tight-knit community, and you can really know all the players across the league and be familiar with the teams and even know the backups. And it's it's a really interesting it's a really interesting community. It's a good experience. You can travel to all the games if you wanted to because there we have 9 teams. So um, yeah, I it's unique for sure, and I love it so much. And so honored to be working for this league.
And not going to school for broadcasting and media. I've been doing a lot of self-taught work myself, and the CFL and the Toronto Argonauts are one of the teams in league that have given me media opportunities. And I also speak to kids in high school about the importance of education in the classroom, but the education should never stop once you're out of a classroom. And I've been very lucky to get all these media opportunities. And the best way of getting experience, if you don't go to school for this, is hands-on. And the CFL and the Toronto Argonauts have been terrific. And one of our viewers, his name is Robbie. He's from Buffalo, New York. He has his own podcast show. Big sports fan. I'm trying to get Robbie into being a CFL fan, and he just wanted to say hi, Chris. And he's now saying, "Go Argos."
That's awesome.
All right, Melissa, I wanted to ask you, can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how you ended up becoming a Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan and a CFL fan too?
Yeah, sounds good. So, where to start? I guess I could start with how I got into the CFL. I was about 7 years old when I got into the CFL, and my parents would go to games and I would watch at home, and I just loved the atmosphere on TV. I was watching when I first started watching. It was around the Kevin Glenn, Milt Stegall era, and I started playing football after some convincing from one of my friends, actually, when I was 12 years old, and I just felt it was something. It just felt natural being on the field. My first team that I played for was the Charleswood Broncos, and it was the beginning of girls tackle football in Manitoba. I played in the second season of it was the Manitoba Girls Tackle Football League, and I played quarterback and linebacker at the same time because there weren't a lot of people. That used to be really common, actually, in older football, like before the 80s. A lot of people played both ways. So I did that, and then I ended up playing on a guys team. I was the only girl on a guys team, and I was really scared at first, but everyone was really accepting of me, and I had a really good time. And I remember thinking, oh, I remember people telling me, sorry, people used to tell me, oh, you should be a broadcaster one day. And at the time, there weren't a lot of women to look up to. Like, I've looked up to Sarah Oleski since I was a kid, but I mean, I didn't see a whole ton of representation. So I was like, that's never going to happen. It's always been a dream. But I remember being like 12, 13, 14, just thinking that it was only going to be a dream. And I was deciding when I went to school. I was actually going in between maybe going to school to be a teacher or going to school for broadcasting. And I thought teaching would be more secure. I thought maybe I'd have a better job, a better chance at getting a job someday. And then after a few people told me, like when I was weighing out my options about teaching or broadcasting, I had some people say, oh, don't go to broadcasting. You're not going to go anywhere. And for some reason, I just felt like proving them wrong. And I ended up going to school for broadcasting. I went to Herzing College in Winnipeg. I did broadcast and media communications there. And it was a year-long program. And about 3 months of that was an internship. And I'm so glad that I did it. I really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot, followed my passions, and I started the course in 2020, and it was a very uncertain time, very challenging time.
Oh, yes, I know.
So, yeah, it was a risk, but I'm so glad I did it. And right out of school, I ended up getting an internship, and felt pretty lucky because it was hard to get an internship anywhere. It always was, but then people didn't want to take anyone because of COVID. And when I had like 2 weeks left in my program, or like in my internship, I mean, I got a message from the manager saying, "Hey, can we talk?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I really want you to apply for this job. It's a news and sports anchor position." And she was like, "I want you to apply for it." And I couldn't believe it. And I applied and I got the job. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into broadcasting. Was right out of school. Very lucky. I thought I was going to have to move out to like rural Manitoba or something like that, but I got a job with CJOB in Winnipeg, and it was like 75 years at the time of that station, and just a great station. I got to work with Bob Irving, the old voice of the Blue
I
Bombers.
wanted to ask you about that later in our show. And one thing I've learned, Marissa, too, is listening skills are just as important as talking. And sometimes when you listen to a guest, they can give you the answers to your questions you've already had prepared. So I'm glad you brought him up. Quick thoughts on Bob Irving and the impact he's had on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for 47 years.
Oh, wow. Um, well, just speaking for myself, he has he really took the time to show me, like, he was busy, and he would take the time to show me how things work, and give me advice when I needed it. And it was an honor to be able to work with him. He Something about his voice, I recognize it right away. And
Distinct voice.
yeah, he passed the baton on to Derek Taylor, who was also an amazing mentor for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I can't say enough good about Bob. If I ever have a question, I can just call or text him, and he'll do his best to help me. And yeah, good guy.
And with him, I got my first taste of listening to Bob. I grew up in the 70s and 80s here in the Toronto area, but the Canadian Football League back in the 80s had their own network called the Canadian Football Network, and it was the game of the week, and Bob Irving would do it. And I used to hear his voice on the broadcasts, and it's like, wow, this guy is really smooth and good, and you can tell how passionate he is for the Blue Bombers, but also the Canadian Football League and as well.
Totally. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I might be young, but I would listen. So there used to be ESPN Classic. It's no longer around anymore. I loved that station, or that channel, sorry, on the TV. And sometimes it would be an old Bob Irving game, and I just
Yes,
knew right away that it was him.
absolutely. Hey, when you played football, I wanted to ask you this. Was there a story behind your number? And do you find more women are playing tackle football? And do you find there's more women coming into the world of sports now, since I have you on here tonight?
Yeah. So my number was 19. That's my lucky number.
Same here, 19 for Steve Eiserman.
That's amazing. Oh, for me, mine is my lucky number, because I think it started because I was born on the 19th, the 19th of January. And then
Happy
when I was
birthday,
in,
by the way.
thank you. um, when I was in grade six, I was like my favorite grade for some reason. Grade six was amazing. And my homeroom number was 19. And then like my locker number had 19 in it. And I was like, I don't know, I just love the number 19. That was my first number. And then when I played football, I didn't always get the first pick on the numbers because I was like newer to the team than some people. And so I would go with like variations of 19. I think one year I was like 29 or something like that because I couldn't get 19. But yeah. And sorry,
I was
you have something else too. I can't.
No, when you played football, do you find there's more women playing tackle football now? And thoughts on the current status of women in sports? I think it's come a long ways from when I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, where there was rarely any females on, and now it's seems like they're getting more opportunities.
Yeah, I've seen the beginning of it, and I think there's still some like room for improvement and everything like that. But when I first started playing girls football, it was only in the second year, like I said, and there were only a few teams, but I know the league is growing, and that it's great to see, and the teams are getting bigger, and it's becoming more of um, like true football with like 12 players or um, 13 players, depending on the league. Um, and yeah.
Do you see one day maybe a women's football league like the WBA, what is it? The Women's National Basketball League, the WNBA, or now the latest hockey league that's out there too, the Women's Hockey League. I think
Yeah,
that's
the
called like
Women's
the
Hockey
WPH.
League.
Is it the Women's Professional Hockey League, the
Yeah,
WPHL?
the PWHL. I actually went to my
Okay.
first game this past weekend, and it
How
was
was that
great.
experience? It was great.
It was awesome. It was louder than a Leafs game. It was in Scotiabank Arena.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they do the Battle on Bay Street um, or this is just the second year in a row that they've done it. It's the second year of the league. So um, it was really cool to be in there, and it was 19,102 fans. Like it was packed in there.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, it was awesome. I had a really good time, and one of my friends, Daniela, does the play-by-play for them for
Is
the group.
her last name Ponticelli?
Yeah.
She's been on my show twice when she was out in
Oh, cool.
Saskatchewan. Yes, and she's friends with Adam Goss, the PA announcer for the Argonauts, and he's been on my show
Nice.
3 times.
Actually, I was here for a day in August, and just to watch a game at BMO Field. It was my first ever game at BMO Field. Only game that I've been able to watch as a fan there, because I usually work the games. But um, it was the walk-off Rouge game between the Argos and the Riders. It was my first Rouge, like first walk-off Rouge that I've ever
And I was
seen.
there as a fan too. I was there as a fan, and nobody I knew, and my friend David, who's a season ticket holder, he knew. But a lot of the fans were like, overtime, and then they were like, why is Adam Goss saying Argos win? I'm like, because it was a rouge. A lot of the
Yeah.
fans in I think, what section is that? 115 didn't know the rule.
I can't remember what section I was. I think I was in 113. I don't know, but we were probably pretty close. That's funny. Yeah, nobody knew what was going on, and I had to explain it. And, I mean, the Argos ended up winning, so people were happy, but people were also confused.
Yeah.
Daniela is actually a Saskatchewan fan too.
Yes.
So it was fun being with her watching the game. And her and Adam actually hosted me that night because I stayed in for the night, and yeah, it was awesome.
That is awesome. And I got another viewer, Fear the Conspiracy. My son is January 19th, and 19's a great number. He also wants to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And he's got a couple more comments. Hey, Jack Cassara, number 45 on the Argos. His birthday is January 19th, which I did not know.
Cool.
And they say most NHL players are January to March babies. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm a June 29th baby. June 29th.
That's awesome. Well, you get to have a football or a CFL game usually around your birthday, so that's nice.
Well, and the Argos play on my birthday this year, but they're in Ottawa, so maybe I'll have to go up to Ottawa to see the Argos play on my birthday.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I wish the CFL was going on my birthday, but um, I guess it's like the playoffs usually for the NFL during my birthday, so that's not too bad
That's
either.
that's okay. And my team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's a story, a fun fact for you. The last 4 times the Toronto Argonauts have won the Grey Cup, I think 2004, 2017, 22, and 24. The Philadelphia Eagles have been in the Super Bowl. They either won it or lost it. So every time the Argos get to the Grey Cup means success for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow, that's an interesting stat line. I like that.
And Mike Hogan reminded me from his grandson or godson that the old four Eagles won the Grey Cup, which I forgot about, and the Eagles went to the Super Bowl that year and lost to New England. But it just seems like the Argos and Eagles' success go hand in hand. And Mike Hogan is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan as well.
Awesome. Well, our teams are facing off in the Super Bowl, so
You're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Okay, since I got you on here, explain to me how you became a Kansas City Chief fan.
okay, so I was raised a Dolphins fan, and I wanted to choose my own team around 2013, and I don't know what made me change it. I think I was just getting more into football, and um, I didn't really watch a ton of NFL. I really only watched the CFL. So um, I was in a Miami Dolphins household, and I was like, I want to choose my own team, just to like get into it and learn all the players and stuff like that. So I was wanting to go for an underdog team at the time, so it ended up being between the Lions and the Chiefs. And then one of my favorite players, DeAnthony Thomas, got drafted by the Chiefs from the Oregon Ducks. And yeah, I went with the Chiefs. Yeah, I would have loved to see the Lions go win a couple weeks ago. That didn't happen. That was unfortunate. But yeah, I've always kind of cheered for the underdog. I think being from Winnipeg at a time when they weren't so dominant, um, I've always cheered on the underdog. So that's kind of where my love for the Chiefs started.
Here's two other fun facts for you. Patrick Mahomes, their quarterback, was drafted by my favorite baseball team, the Detroit Tigers, in 2014 as a pitcher. And also, here's something else funny too. When the Chiefs started getting good, they were the heroes and everybody loved them because of the Patriots. Now that the Patriots dynasty is over, Kansas City has become the new villain, just like the Argos are in the CFL. Any team that has long-term success becomes the villain at some point.
Yeah. Um, I get like when I walk around, I used to walk around with Chief stuff all the time, and I just don't anymore because people will kind of like give me that look. People really, even before all this Taylor Swift craze, people assumed that I was a bandwagon fan once they started to get good because of like Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, I've been a fan since before Patrick Mahomes was around. So I was brave on Sunday before the game started, and I went out in a Chiefs jersey. And I mean, being in kind of Buffalo Bills territory, I felt pretty brave. But I was like, whatever. If someone thinks I'm a bandwagon fan, who cares? I mean, it doesn't matter. I have a Jamal Charles jersey. I I love him, and yeah.
By the way, I've had a former Chiefs tight end on my show who's with the Eagles and Chiefs, Jason Dunn. He also has his own podcast show called Chiefs Concerns. If you love the Kansas City Chiefs, check his show out. He's a good guy, and he played for the Eagles and the Chiefs. And I've also had Alex Godon from I think it's at 670 the score in Kansas City too on my show as well. So I love getting. Obviously, I'm an Eagles guy, but I also like covering all the other teams as well. And if you ever get a chance to go to Kansas City, Arrowhead is got to be a bucket list because it's just it's an amazing stadium, and they love their barbecue food down in Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah. Haven't really been down to the States too much. Um, but I'd be open to go to just about any stadium, I'd say.
Absolutely, and we'll save the NFL Super Bowl predictions for the end of this show. But wanted to ask you this, Marissa: who are some of your other mentors and influences into your media career?
Okay, so I'll start with Kelly Moore. He is the sports director at 680 CJOB. He took a lot of time out of his day, and he's a busy guy, when I first started, to listen to my broadcasts or listen to my newscasts and my sportscasts and really um, tell me how to do things and show me how to do things, help me with my writing, help me with my just the way that my delivery. He really, I would not be here without him. Kelly Moore helped me from day one when I started at CJOB. I remember during my internship telling him, like, I'll do anything to get in here. Like, I'll even wash the floors. Like, I'll do anything. And he's like, you're better than that. You can do more than wash the floors, you know? Like, he has believed in me since day one. And he's my first mentor. Then Derek Taylor, I have to give him some praise because when he came to CJOB after Bob Irving left, I just sent him an email being like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I love football. All the best and good luck with, the new position, the new role. And he responded back saying, oh, well, we should meet up for coffee someday. And when we met, he asked me to have a segment on his pregame show. And that would have been 2022. So I did the 2022 season, 23 and 24 with him. And it was a stats segment called Did You Know? And it is stats focused or kind of Winnipeg. It was, it's a regional broadcast on CJOB. So it was just kind of Winnipeg focused, stats focused. And I would write my stuff, do my own research, send it to him. And he really gave me the opportunity to have some work on a broadcast, and it was amazing. He also helped me starting in 2022 when I would be at practice. I would follow him around like a lost puppy, and he would show me the ropes of locker room etiquette and how to interview people. And he was really gracious with his time and patience, and also would not be here without him. I'd say Kelly Moore and Derek Taylor are my biggest mentors. I would not be here without them. I appreciate them so much. And I've also had a few people along the way who were in the global newsroom and the 680 CJOB newsroom. We were all on one floor, so I had unlimited amount of resources and people to look up to who have been in the industry for decades. And I would just take anything I could from any of them. Anytime that they would take out of their day for me to show me how to do things, I would try and absorb it all like a sponge. And there's a lot of people along the way, but Kelly Moore, Derek Taylor.
Can I give you a quick story about my first interview? I'm self-taught. Actually, I was in security for 23 and a half years, and that's how I learned how to talk to people, listen to people, think on my feet. My first interview with a media guy with the Buffalo Bandits National Lacrosse League. You should go to a lacrosse game. It's awesome. It's like the CFL and the NFL combined. And his name was Griffin. He's a media personality like you, same age as you, and I did an interview with him. And it went well, except his name was Griffin, and I called him Blake. Blake Griffin, the NBA player. But you know what? He was cool about that. I said, you want to do the interview over again? He goes, no, don't worry about it. I'm honored that you thought highly of me to call me Blake. So he was understanding about that. So I've made some mistakes doing interviews, but the only way you get better at something is to just learn from your mistakes. And I love doing the live in-person interviews as much as I love doing this virtual show. The live in-person interviews, you get to think on your feet. And the Toronto Argonauts, Ben Grant, Mike Hogan, and a number of the guys there have been really great with letting me do interviews before the game or after the game.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's nothing like a live interview or a live newscast, live sportscast, especially um, going through a sportscast and getting all the pronunciation right on the hockey names and the tennis names and all that kind of stuff.
I'm still working on that too. Like, I try to pride myself on getting names right. If I get them wrong, I apologize. And never and sometimes names can be tricky. You can just assume from the spelling it's that way, but it's not always that way too. So when I've interviewed some PA announcers, they always tell me they have a website from the National Hockey League, all the PA guys, and it has all the name pronunciations as well. So that's one thing I want to get better at. And Matthew Shinetti, I would say, is probably not just besides being a friend, he's sort of like a mentor to me as well. And Matthew gives me good advice. He goes, Chris, don't try to be perfect. Mistakes happen. The only way you get better as a broadcaster and media is to learn from your mistakes.
Hmm. I remember some of my first days um, doing a live newscast or sportscast and making a mistake and it just haunting me. And sometimes the pressure that you have on yourself,
We
it
could
can
be our
really
worst
eat you
enemy.
alive. Yeah, it can eat you alive for sure. So I've gotten a lot better at that, but it's taken a lot of time.
For those that are watching our show live stream or on audio, and they're looking to get into the media industry, specifically the sports industry, Marissa, what advice would you give to those people?
I'd say my biggest piece of advice is to network. Um, a lot of my opportunities have come about by an email. That's how I got my internship, was an email, and not just one email, not just two, but three emails, just to schedule a call with the news director in Winnipeg, Global and CJOB, to just have an opportunity to do my internship. Um, I emailed Derek Taylor, and that's how I got my segment on the Blue Bombers pregame show, and that's also how I got my current job. Was just through an email. And sometimes you don't know where it's going to take you. Um, and that is another thing is don't have don't have a timeline because you don't like have goals, but you can't predict when things are going to happen. You just have to be prepared. That is my biggest piece of advice, or I guess two biggest pieces of advice: network and be prepared. You might have to make some sacrifices, but as long as you're ready for the next step, then you can see where it might take you.
One thing I've learned, I've only been doing this for 5 years now since the pandemic, and I've had a lot of successes, but I've also had setbacks. I don't use the word failure, but sometimes you're going to get told no, and you just don't take it personally. And I use it as motivation to keep getting better because I've had a lot of people support me in this, but I've also had skeptics, non believers. You're too old being 52, you don't have broadcasting journalism diploma. And I find if you have a passion, you have a desire to learn and improve. My road's a little different than everyone else's, but it shouldn't matter in the end.
It's so true. Yeah, there's not just one answer. There's not just one path. Everyone's journey is different. And yeah, sometimes it might not be the way that you think it's going to go, but kind of cliche, but what's meant to be will happen. And yeah, just kind of ride the wave.
And two, opportunities. I covered the NFL draft in Detroit. People were kind of like, how'd you pull that off? And I said, listen, I worked my butt off for it, and I went out and reached out for the opportunities. Opportunities haven't been given to me. I've had to go out and earn them, and I'm sure you've had to do the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've done was kind of on my own time, my own dime. I for like the Blue Bombers pregame show, for example, I didn't have to do it, but I did it because it was an amazing opportunity. Also, during that same time, going to practice, trying to go to practice once a week to shadow Derek Taylor, or then when I got comfortable on my own, just interviewing the players and asking questions in the media availabilities. I did that all on my own time, my own dime. I would work like 3:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. some days, and then go to practice afterwards. I'd be exhausted. Sometimes I hadn't eaten all day, and I would just go there. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to put in the work. But sometimes, that if I wouldn't have done any of that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, I'd say just put yourself out there. And if you have the time to do something, I know not everyone has the time, but just make the time. It's a sacrifice, but yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, tonight, this is my 15th show in January. Like some people do one podcast a week. I do 15 shows with 15 different guests. And I don't call it work. When you have a passion for something, and I can tell how passionate you are, it's not work when it's something that you love. So passion, whatever you do in life, it's important to find your passion. And I didn't find mine until I was 47 and a half. And when I was your age, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And unfortunately, they didn't have this technology back in the 80s and 90s. But you know what? It's never too late to switch careers. And I look at myself as an undrafted athlete like these players that are in the CFL and other sports leagues.
Totally. Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, congrats. Like you're doing great, already on season 9, and I love to see it.
And I love doing it. And the Toronto Argonauts, the Buffalo Bandits, the Buffalo Bisons, I get to interview Blue Jay players before they come to Toronto. So when I met Hazel May, I said to Hazel, I'm you in Buffalo before they come see you. So she's a really nice person. And I've been very fortunate in my 5 years, and I love doing it. And the only way you get better is to keep working, never get complacent. And that goes for professional athletes too.
Yeah, I did a lot of reaching out to get better, reaching out to people who have been in the industry for longer than me, a lot longer than me, and like Kelly Moore, for example. I remember some of the first times going through my sportscast or my newscasts with him, listening to it, and him being like, why did you say it like that? Or like there has things that he's said that I'll never forget. And once I hear it once and someone points it out to me, I appreciate it. Sometimes it hurts a little bit because you don't realize. Sometimes it's like, harsh criticism, but it's not harsh criticism. You can take it that way, or you can take it as constructive criticism. You have to have a thick skin. And yeah.
I totally agree with you there. I was gonna say something else, like I kind of forgot, but if I remember it, I'll write it down. I also learned to write stuff down too, and I've had some good advice here by Eric Smith of the Raptors a few years ago when I first started this. Maybe 4 years ago, he was on my show. I scripted everything. I wrote it down, and Eric Smith told me from the Raptors, it's okay to write down notes and points, but have a natural conversation with your guests like we're talking now or at BMO Field. It makes for better conversation. So I've taken advice over the years from some of my guests and try to apply it and try to make this a better show. And I want every guest to come on here to feel comfortable with me and be able to share their story.
Well, I think you're doing great. I did also want to talk about another mentor of mine. You might be familiar with him. He just got inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame this year, and his name, in 2024, sorry, but his name is Steve Daniel, and he is amazing. First off, he has shown me so much, and in my new position, he is a senior director of statistics analytics at the CFL, and every day that I get to work with him, I don't take it for granted at all. He has really helped me along the way, and he's amazing.
Now I remember what I wanted to ask you. You
There
see
you go.
me, I wear a lot of ball caps, but in the radio media industry or what you're doing too, can you tell people how important it is to wear many hats? Because not just literally the physical hat, but how important is many hats? You might not be the best at everything, but it's good to be able to do a little bit of this and that, and it makes you a better person too.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think that's becoming a lot more common in broadcasting these days to wear many hats. And if you're listening to this and you currently work in broadcasting, you will be able to relate to the fact that, you have to do, um, because of mainly like layoffs and stuff like that. Someone gets laid off in the newsroom, and all of a sudden you have to pick up more tasks and learn new skills. But you get to learn these skills, and you like, let's say you're a producer, like you're writing, you're you're stacking a newscast, you're setting up interviews, and people don't realize how much work goes into a broadcast, any sort of broadcast.
Oh, I can
um,
relate.
so yeah, taking advantage of, maybe feeling overworked and stuff like that, when you learn those new skills, you'll be able to put that on your resume. And I think in the industry, people realize it and people know how much work goes into something. So, yeah, instead of just sitting back and taking the easy road, sometimes you gotta put on different hats and learn skills, and it feels daunting at first, but then once you get comfortable, you're like, "Oh, I don't know why this ever felt so overwhelming."
The word I wanted to use is step out of your comfort zone. And I also did some camera work with Rogers TV and the University of Guelph here too. And people don't realize the on-air guys get all the credit, but the camera guys, the graphic guys, the audio guys, the producers, the directors, all the behind scenes guys are just as important as the on-air guys.
Yeah, like all the when you're watching football game, for example, and then you see the different clips and you hear the commentator and the play-by-play talking about that clip, someone is behind the scenes cutting that clip, putting it together, making the little circles on whatever player they're talking about. Someone is making the graphic. When you see a stat line, um, it's it even when before I started in the newsroom, I didn't realize, that like people write their own script. Like people write the news anchor will write that story that's coming up. You'd think like someone else would be writing it, but a lot of the times you have to write your breaking news and you have to stack your newscast and everything like that. Like you do that all on your own. So yeah. People don't realize it. It's not just magic. It's not TV magic.
Absolutely. And I get another comment from Fear the Conspiracy. Enoch Manamba, the former Argo linebacker, who's now on TSN, has a new hat and looks great. And he's somebody I knew would do well on TV. Just speaking to him, he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I actually was doing some practicing for the upcoming season, and I was rewatching the Western Final game in Winnipeg, and he was on the sidelines, and I think he's pretty new at it, but it's good to see, and yeah, I'm happy for him. I hope he enjoys it, and Paul LaPolice is another example.
I met
He's
him too. Met him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had Matt Denikin on my show a few months ago. I think the younger me would have been intimidated by someone like Matt Denikin, but when I met him at BMO Field and then he came on my show, it was like we connected, and I wasn't really intimidated by him. I just basically talked to him like the way I'm talking to you. But the younger version of me, I think, would have been too shy or scared to talk to him.
Yeah, I understand that because being up in a press room or being up in the press box in a stadium, you're rubbing shoulders with all these guys and all these people who you watched growing up, or people who you saw on TV, and you can be easily intimidated by them. But going out of your way to go introduce yourself to them, just every interaction that you have, you pick up something else, and that's one of my favorite parts about being in this industry is getting to rub shoulders with Doug Brown, Milt Steele, Matt Dunnigan, Jim Barker. It's pretty cool.
And I'm lucky here in Guelph because the Toronto Argonauts have their training camp in Guelph every May. So I know Chris Balanovich, who's been great with me. Chris, you want to come up to the university? Who do you want to talk to? And like I said, I'm getting my internship technically through the CFL and the Toronto Argonauts, and I love it. Even if it's training camp, you get to talk to these guys and you get to know them as people as well. As much as you want your team to win, with this league, you want to see all the teams do well, and you get to know these guys, and most of them are really good guys. I've been very fortunate. I've never had a bad interview.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've really enjoyed, being around this league for going on 4 seasons now. I can't wait for the upcoming season. I'm just learning so much, and just gaining more skills and meeting people, and my love for the game grows every single day. And even though the season isn't going on right now we're in the process of writing the 2025 guidebook, and I learn something new every day, not just one thing, so many things. That's what I love about football is no matter how much you think you know, you'll learn something new every time you watch it. It's just awesome.
And I'm a stats guy, and I'm also a history guy. And when I'm in Buffalo at the Bandits game, they have a gentleman named Bud Bailey. He's like a 40-year veteran of media in Buffalo. He's well known and respected. And I've hit it off with Bud. So every time I speak to him, I pick his brains for his insight, his opinions and views, and that's what I love about it. And he's a history guy too. So I'm a history and stats guy, and I think that's why we get along so well because I like the thing. I like history and the stats like you do of the game.
Yeah, it's I love so much. I History is my favorite. It was always my favorite subject in school. And now, I get to do that for my job. I get to look at the history of the league and compare, current players to
Former, yep.
former players. And yeah, it's definitely an honor just to be a part of it. It's really cool. It's really special.
Marissa, do you have time for about another 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Just a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'm all.
Okay. Okay. How much has social media and the internet changed how the game and player stats are done? And just tell us about how much work it was creating an X count for the CFL stats.
Yeah, so I think, with sports gambling and sports betting, that's brought a whole new audience to sports. And people care a lot more now about like player statistics and stuff like that. So I think, you know, this it's bringing more revenue to sports, just having uh, the access of betting and everything like that, and it just keeps growing every year. People really want to know what's happening. People are more familiar with the players and how they're doing, and that is when I first started with the CFL. that was one of the first things that I wanted to do, was to create the CFL Stats X account, and just bring, instead of the traditional ways of game day packages and things like that, just trying to add more for our viewers and for our players, and give people more resources to see how amazing the CFL is. And I think it's just kind of the beginning of our CFL Stats Twitter account, or X, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, being able to give people, fans, a resource too, because sometimes you'll have to wait for a reporter to put it out, but we can now, during a game, put out, oh, this record has been made. And it's a good resource for reporters, good resource for fans, and then players too, to be able to celebrate their accomplishments.
I think the CFL's come a long ways from when I grew up in the 70s and 80s too, and fantasy football has changed everything with stats as well. For those people that are watching our show, live stream or an audio, they don't know much about the CFL or have never been to a CFL game. What would you tell them why they should check it out?
Okay, so I would say that it's an exciting game, because of the fact of how tight-knit it is. You can know all the players, and you can know the history of these players. You can see them from the beginning and how they end up, and it's an exciting game with the three downs. It's fast. We have a longer field, wider field, and it's, oh man, I feel like I'm doing not so good job of selling the league.
I just think it's exciting. It's exciting and it's family oriented. It's more of a community than the NFL. As much as I love the NFL, CFL, to me, I would call it CFL community.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with, like, it's so tight knit, and it's just, it's different. It's different than the NFL for sure. But if you don't know until you know, and when you know, you know.
And the CFL is a business just like the NFL and these other leagues too. You get to know guys, but unfortunately, every year guys move on due to free agency or they're looking for a better contract or stability. Because these guys, I think they should get paid as much as the NFL guys, but unfortunately, the CFL doesn't have the corporate money behind it like the NFL does. But it's just this league is just so great, and I think the CFL is doing a really good job with all the departments and stuff like that. And get another comment here from Fear the Conspiracy, and I want to say thank you for watching our show. Same with Robbie. DeMonte Coxey was my favorite in fantasy, and my guy, and I got to know these guys, interviewing them in the locker room, and they're characters and they're good guys. And as much as I'm media and I've got to stay neutral, I want to see these guys all do well off the record.
Yeah, totally. Um, and yeah, another thing about the CFL, like if I were to convince someone to watch it, is that it's fast. The games are shorter.
Yeah.
There's more, each team has more possessions in a game. There's more points scored, longer rushes, longer passes, higher scoring. Like I said, it's a great game. So many touchdowns, a lot of kicking. Kicking is so important. We have the Rouge. So if you don't know about the CFL and you want to see a fun, exciting game and learn what a Rouge is, then yeah, you should. It's amazing.
What's a typical day like for you during a CFL season at a game?
So at a game, if I'm working in a stadium, I go there, a few hours early, and we set up. We get all of our players into the system, because basically in every stadium there is a stats crew. they have a computer and there's 5-6 people on a stats crew, and one person's watching the offensive players, one watching the defensive, one's watching for like jersey numbers, one's watching for yard lines, wherever like a pass was thrown, wherever they got marked down, things like that. So that's what I do on game nights is I audit what gets put into the stat system. So because it's fast paced, so the stats crews don't have a ton of time to go watch replays. It's you're doing every play as it comes. And my job as an auditor, and I do it with Steve Daniel, Jeff Creever, and Doug Page, the four of us, we audit every single game, every single play, to make sure the right people are getting the right stats. And so it's a lot of work. It's very fast paced, but it's really fun. And
It's not your typical 8 to 4 job.
No, I'll never watch football the same way anymore. And I get paid to watch every single CFL game. So it's an honor and a privilege, and I wouldn't be able to do it without my amazing team. And together we all have a lot of fun. And
This year, there were so many games that were won last minute, and that's true. A lot of these CFL games come down to the last second, the last play of the game, and that's what makes it so exciting. And also, too, the Toronto Argonauts I think, are doing a great job. And BMO Field, if you haven't been there, it's a beautiful stadium, and I think every stadium in the CFL, maybe not Calgary, is a great fan experience as well. And hopefully, Calgary can get a new stadium in the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, no, you're right about the last minute games. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there were a lot of games that were decided in the final 3 minutes, which if you're, not familiar with the CFL, you really just watch the NFL, that's one thing. If you want to see a game where every second counts, that's the CFL.
Absolutely.
Every second counts.
And before we wrap this up, I had to ask you this too. I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but I know you dealt with the Blue Bombers on their radio station. Just thoughts on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers organization and their amazing 5 straight Grey Cup appearances. Technically, I don't call them a dynasty, but they're pretty darn close to a dynasty, and it just shows you how great they have been the last 5 years. It's not easy getting to a Grey Cup, let alone winning it as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, there's ebbs and flows with teams, and, there was obviously a drought for Winnipeg, but
29 years.
Yeah. I mean, they put in the people that they needed to, and they kept people. From what I hear, they made a really good locker room, and they made people want to stay there. And they did what they had to do to find success, and get fans in the stands, things like that. Because I remember going to games and not a whole lot of people there, but now it's hard. They sold out so much, and last year they had so many sellouts, and these past few years they've had just so many sellouts. So I think it's great to see, and who knows how much longer it's gonna last. But teams like Saskatchewan, they're
improving. They're improving. BC's improving. Edmonton's improving. The league there's no gimme games, and I still feel Winnipeg is going to be competitive in 2025. And this year's Grey Cup is in
Winnipeg. Come on down to
And
Winnipeg.
I'm hoping I would love to be at another Grey Cup. I was at the one in Hamilton. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the Vancouver one, so I really like to go to one in Winnipeg, and I hear their stadium is beautiful there.
Yeah, and another thought about, the Bombers is their start to their last season. Like last year they went 6-2, I think 4-0. Or sorry, 0-4 and 2-6. Or 2-4 or something like that.
They got off to a
But
slow start, and then they got
yeah.
hot.
Yeah, sorry about that. I messed up my order there.
It's okay.
But yeah, they found ways to win, found ways to lose, but yeah.
There's a golf connection with the Bombers. Kyle Walters, Golf Griffins. Mike O'Shea, old-time Golf Griffin linebacker, former Argonaut too. And Johnny Augustine, the running back, who's a friend of mine. He's been on my show as well. He's a Golf Griffin as well. So there is a golf connection with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
That's awesome. I can't say enough good about that organization. They, accepted me when I was just starting off, and the players, Mike O'Shea, accepted me, into the locker room, asking questions. The guys trusted me just to interview them, and really, I didn't know what I was doing at first, but they were patient with me, and I remember when I found out that I was leaving Winnipeg, I went and thanked Mike O'Shea, and yeah, he was really good. He was really good to me, and always made me feel seen when I felt a little. Sometimes I'd be the only woman in the room, and I'd be a lot younger than everybody. So
They made you
that's
feel a part of the team.
totally.
Same with the Toronto Argonauts as well. And it's just been amazing. And before we wrap this up, I do this with all my guests. What are some fun facts about yourself, or one fun fact about yourself?
Well, I'd say that I didn't have the most like the easiest upbringing, but I'd say that I've got myself to where I am today, and that I've always taken the risk, and I am not very easily scared. I am always ready to try new things, and I love football. It's like my whole personality. I love cats, and yeah, I love talking to people, meeting new people, and sharing a smile is like one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, that's a few fun facts about me. I don't know if
And,
that's exactly what you're looking for.
and I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm not going to say the word favorite. What are some of your most memorable CFL games and Grey Cup games you've attended?
Oh, okay. Canadian Stadium is where I fell in love with football. I got to watch Milt Stegall there. I saw his like crazy comeback game. My first Grey Cup was in Regina in 2022.
Amazing game.
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
I
It
was
was
stressed
cold.
out. I was stressed out.
I remember because at the time I wasn't in this neutral position that I'm in right now. Like right now, I do CFL statistics, so I am neutral. But I was a Bomber fan back then, and everyone's like, "Are you okay? The Bombers lost." But I just remember being so happy. Like I was at a Grey Cup, and I got to see the Bombers play in the Grey Cup, and I mean, it was a crazy game. Like I got to meet so many people, and it was an amazing. I was there for like the whole festival, all the festivals, everything like that. Like it was amazing. I was so happy, and it just made me fall in love with the CFL even more. So I'd say I have really good memories in Regina. at Mosaic Stadium. I never got to go to Taylor Field, but Canada Stadium, where I fell in love with football. Saw Milt Stegall, Kevin Glenn, like Charles Roberts. I was spoiled.
And you got a new fan from here too. Hey, I just Googled Marissa and you're famous. Wow.
Well, now I'm on your podcast, so
And by the
only up
way,
from
I
here.
have two. By the way, I have two other shows. So if you ever want to come on my Toronto Argonauts podcast, it's called the Argo Bounce Live Audio Show with Nick Small and myself. He's 27, I'm 52. So we talk about the Argonauts and the CFL from his perspective and from the older fans' perspective. We'd love to have you on our show. And then I have another show called the Small Talk Podcast with my co-host Marlene Sharp in Los Angeles. She's in the ammunition, the cartoon industry, and we work really well. And I think you would actually make a great guest on our show as well from your experiences in that as well.
Oh, I love that. Well, as you can tell, I talk a lot. So
do I. So do I. And when you get guests on your show, you want them to be talkers.
Well, hopefully I didn't talk too much.
Nope. And I'm going to put you on the spot here before we wrap this up. I get this mixed up. Okay. Now I fixed it. I wear all these hats. Sometimes mistakes happen.
No worries, you're doing great.
Super Bowl 59 prediction. We're going to be enemies for a game. My friend Patrick out in San Diego, he's a former Kansas City broadcaster, but he's out in San Diego. So I said to Patrick, we're going to have to be enemies for a day. So for the second time in 3 years, just like the Blue Bombers and Argos, it's going to be the Chiefs and Eagles on Sunday, February 9th. What are your thoughts on the matchup between the Birds and the Chiefs? And who do you see winning, and who do you see being the Super Bowl MVP from your perspective?
Oh, okay. I love that. Okay. So Saquon Barkley is the key to the game, like on both sides. For the Chiefs, they have to stop him. And the Eagles have to utilize him, which they obviously will. You never know what's going to happen during a game. Anything can happen. God forbid, something could happen to Barkley during the game. Who knows? You never know what could happen. But I'd say if the Chiefs can't stop him, they're not going to win. If they can stop him, it's still going to be a close game.
Score.
Oh, I think it's this is hard because the Eagles put up, what was it, 55 points, the final score?
Against Washington, yes. 230 yards rushing, 246 yards passing.
I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be back and forth touchdowns throughout the whole game.
Just like Super Bowl 57.
Yeah. Prediction though, maybe like 35-30 or something like that. 35-30.
For your Chiefs, and I've got the Eagles winning 34-27. I know both teams have good defenses. Vic Fangio for the Eagles, Steve Spagnuolo for the Chiefs. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game like Super Bowl 57 was. Their last regular season game was in the 2023 season at Arrowhead, and the Eagles won 21-17 in that game. And it was kind of more of a defensive battle, but I really feel both these teams, it's going to be back and forth. And which team doesn't turn the ball over is going to win this game. And the Eagles are plus 21 this year, and they're 10-0 in the playoffs. So if Kansas City turns that ball over and Philly can get touchdowns, I think that's going to help the Eagles a lot. So Kansas City has to play error-free football, and same with Philadelphia, because Super Bowl 57, Hurts fumbled the ball once, the Chiefs recovered it and got 7 points, and that was the difference in the game. And you're right, an X factor in this game, it could be the injuries too during the game.
Yeah, you never want to see it, but wow, you put that a lot better than I did, because I've thought about how the Super Bowl is going to go, but I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it. I just hope it's a good game, and I don't want to hear people complaining about the refs.
That's another thing too, I think the officiating can be improved on the CFL and the NFL, but they're also human beings too. And they do make mistakes, but I just hopefully the players decide this game, and I don't listen to this other nonsense about being scripted and rigged and stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to this game as well. And Marissa, I want to say thank you so much for wanting to come on my show. Give us over an hour of your time. Where can my audience follow you on social media and the CFL stats pages on social media?
Yeah, so we are currently on X at CFL Stats. And right now we're posting kind of like historical stuff, items that will be in the 2025 guide that we're currently working on, kind of 2024 in numbers. There's a kind of a year in review. We're doing some stuff like that. So you'll see some of that right now. And then when the season comes, yeah, kind of stay tuned because it's going to be our first full season having our CFL Stats account. And then I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. My name is Marissa Turton, and 1 R, 2 S's. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, and
I'll have to add you on
thank you
LinkedIn
so much
and
for
Blue
having me.
Sky. And Blue
Yeah,
Sky
I'm
too.
not on Blue Sky.
Okay. But I'll look for you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, look for me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to get better at posting more. So yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun and great work with everything. I know you're doing this all yourself, and yeah, I just want to congratulate you.
Well, thank you, and I'm hoping to be back with the Argos doing the media work this year too. But I still like going as a fan. I have a season ticket, so I kind of like to do both because the guy that sits beside me, we get along well, and it's a fun experience. And the media side of it, I love it as well. And the CFL, man, it's been a great opportunity, and I just even no matter where I go in the future, I still want to be a fan of this league and support the CFL.
Yeah, well, don't forget about Hamilton too. It's not too, I don't know how far it is from Guelph, but the
About
games
it's
are
about
there.
40 minutes. Yep, 40 minutes. Brandon is a good guy. I've dealt with him. But with the Argos, they're kind of my childhood team. So it's kind of but I'm there as media, I'm strictly neutral. But when I'm sitting in the seat, I'm pro Argo. Just like Adam Goss. He does a great job as the public address announcer. I guess all the guys in the CFL really do a good job.
Yeah, he's great.
So
Really, yeah, really great. Good friend. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
bug him next time you see him. Say hi to him for me, and bug him about his Buffalo Sabres. They're not very good this year.
Okay, noted.
And give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video, the audio, and I will break this up into reels and clips. And I think I got one more last question for you too.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then it's from Fear the Conspiracy. Thank you for watching. Great show. Go Argos and go CFL. And by the way, the 2025 CFL season is now available on CFL.ca or your team's website. And I really like what they did with the Argonauts. Only 3 Friday night home games and 6 Saturday afternoon games at 3 o'clock. So a thumbs up to the Canadian Football League for improving the schedules.
Yeah, people, especially in Toronto, seem to be really happy about these schedules. I mean, for me, this for from May until November, my life revolves around that schedule, so it doesn't make too much of a difference for
So,
me. So,
all right. Well, you have an open invite to come back on my show or my other 2 shows in the future. And please keep in touch. And thank you so much today, Marissa, for coming on here.
yeah, thank you. I'd love to be a guest on one of your shows again. You were amazing. And anyone else who wants to go on your show too, I think it's a great opportunity and it was a nice
I've
conversation.
And I've had a number of guys from the league on my show, and I'm trying to get some players and former players on my show too. And Damon Allen has been on my show too, and it's just been amazing talking to a legend like Damon Allen and Matt Dunnigan and Derek Taylor and Dave Campbell and AJ Jakubek of the Ottawa Red Blacks. So they make me feel like a part of the league, and I'm just excited for the 2025 CFL training camp to start up in May, which isn't that far away.
It's not. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be a great year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marissa, and we'll keep in touch on social media. You have a great night.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that concludes season 9, episode 46, episode 486 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I'm going to play a little bit of a video from my YouTube channel, my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday in the AFC Championship game. Chris Palme here with my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills AFC Championship game. Yes, I did pick the Bills to win this game yesterday, 24-21. They didn't. They lost 32-29. But a couple of reasons why the Chiefs won. One, they are the better football team. And number two, at the end of the game, the Kansas City Chiefs executed their plays and their offense and obviously did enough to win this game. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen had 3 minutes, 33 seconds left on the clock with 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning to drive down the field to get a game-tying field goal to send the game to overtime or possibly win it with a touchdown. So stop blaming the officials and the refs for the Bills' loss to the Chiefs. Josh Allen had a great chance at the end of the game with plenty of time, plenty of timeouts, 2-minute warning, and James Cook, an efficient running back, to win this game or even send it to overtime. He didn't get the job done. Chiefs deserve to win. That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone for subscribing and liking my YouTube channel. And if you already haven't, type in Chris Palme Live with CDP Sports Talk and hit that subscribe, like notification as well. And I'm really looking forward to Super Bowl 59 matchup on Sunday, February 9th between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm hoping to do 1 to 2 more Super Bowl shows before the big game happens on Sunday, February 9th as well. Speaking of big shows, guys, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored again by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph, is going to be Thursday, January 30th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Cameron Kay. She is an up-and-coming, very talented stand-up comedian out of Detroit, Michigan. She's a huge WWE fan, Mick Foley fan, and also a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. So Cameron Kay is going to come on, and we're going to talk about the 2024 Detroit Lions, preview Super Bowl 59 between Philly and Kansas City. And Cameron's going to talk about her upcoming live stand-up comedy performances in the great state of Michigan and Detroit. And hopefully one day she'll be over here in Ontario to do comedy shows as well. So Cameron Kay will join us on Thursday, January 30th at 1:30 for my 16th show with 16 different guests in the month of January. And I want to say thank you to all my wonderful guests out there for coming on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, who are the stars of the show. I'm just a host as well. All right, guys, as we wrap this up, the Cambridge and District Humane Society is celebrating their 70th anniversary this year with a masquerade black tie event on Thursday, February 13th at Tapestry Hall, located at 74 Grand Avenue South in Cambridge, Ontario. Tickets are $250 for VIP admission, and the general admission tickets are $175. And you can purchase tickets via e-transfer exec.director@cambridgehumanesociety.org or in person at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge. For more information on this masquerade event, a big fundraiser for the Cambridge District Humane Society, for more information, visit CambridgeHumaneSociety.org, or give them a call at 519-623-7722, extension 0. And also, guys, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society. Check out their website again, CambridgeHumaneSociety.org. All their profiles are on their website. And if you're looking to volunteer like I am, you can fill out a volunteer form through their website. And they're also doing a monthly, not a monthly, but a raffle draw. And the proceeds for that go to all their programs at the Cambridge District Humane Society. You can click on their website, CambridgeHumaneSociety.org, and click on events, and you can get your tickets there as well. So a shout out to the Cambridge District Humane Society, where I've been a volunteer and a fundraiser now for 1 year. So please check out their masquerade black tie event again on Thursday, February 13th at Tapestry Hall in Cambridge, Ontario. And that you can get tickets through their website or through their executive director. And I have the information down on the bottom of my screen as well. Before we wrap up the show, guys, as always, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Please make sure you follow or subscribe to me on my social media platforms. You can also check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac products, or call them at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, check out a 2025 Equinox RS. You can lease from $252 bi-weekly. That's like $126 weekly at 6.9% financing for 60 months with a $3,300 down payment on an ultra-low kilometer lease. More details at barrycullen.com. I am a content creator, everybody, and you guys all know this. You guys can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP, and I want to say thank you to my 2,700 followers on TikTok. So check me out on TikTok. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. I've been with StreamYard for live streaming this show for over 4 years now. Great product. Check them out, StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio versions on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And make sure you follow and subscribe. Finally, you guys can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. I'm also on PayPal if you'd like to support my radio and media work, cpalme19@gmail.com. And also, I am on Cameo. If you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, CDP, click on cameo.com and type in Chris Palme and book your Cameo today as well. And again, I'm going to wrap up the show, but I want to say thank you so much to everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platforms. And thank you so much again to my guest, Marissa Turton, for coming on. I hope I got her last name right. She is the coordinator of CFL player and game stats for the Canadian Football League. And I want to say thank you so much to Marissa for coming on. And I'm looking forward to my next show on Thursday, 1:30 with Cameron Kay. We're going to talk Detroit Lions, Super Bowl, and some of her upcoming live stand-up comedian performances as well, and maybe a little more about Mick Foley. She's friends with Mick Foley, and she's going to be doing a show, I think, with him coming up soon in Michigan as well. That's about it. I hope everybody has a great evening. And I've survived 2 shows today with 2 wonderful guests, Marissa Tigney and Marissa Turton. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching this live streamed and on my audio platforms, and sponsored by Wellington Brewery, celebrating their 40th year here in Guelph. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a Wellion, and please remember to drink responsibly. And also, thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, the longtime dealership of Chris Palme, for sponsoring this show as well. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you back here Thursday at 1:30 with Cameron Kay, talking Lions, comedy, and Super Bowl.